All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to rip apart all that fluffy, feel-good social advice you've heard a million times. We're getting into the raw mechanics of how people actually interact, the unspoken rules that really run the show.
You know, this quote, it just hits you, right? It gets at a really uncomfortable truth about human nature. We are fiercely protective of our ego, our social image, often even at the expense of reality itself. And that one idea is the key to everything else we're about to unlock. So why are we like this? Well, to figure that out, we've got to completely change how we look at things. Forget the idea that social interaction is some kind of friendly dance. We need to start seeing it for what it is, a strategic game. And like any game, it has rules. The problem is, most of us never got the rule book. Look, most of the advice out there tells you how things should work. Just be honest, be kind, work hard, and everything will be fine. But if you actually want to navigate the world effectively, you got to understand how it really works. This isn't about being cynical, it's about being smart.
Okay, so to really get this game, you have to know the players, and that means understanding ourselves. Deep down, something like 90% of what we do is run by three hidden drivers that we almost never admit to. Think of it like the subconscious operating system for every human being.
All right, first up, ego survival. In the modern world, right, we're not really fighting off saber-toothed tigers anymore. So that ancient fight or flight system, it's been repurposed to protect our social identity, our avatar. This is huge because it means when you correct someone, even with stone-cold facts, their brain doesn't just process new information. No, it feels an attack, a drop in status. It feels like a threat. Okay, number two, our brains are incredibly efficient, which is a nice way of saying they're kind of lazy. I mean, deep, analytical thinking burns a ton of calories. So to save energy, the brain takes shortcuts. It doesn't analyze situations from scratch. It pattern matches. And that's exactly why looking the part, having the confident posture, wearing the right clothes, is often way more effective than actually being the most competent person in the room.
And this whole pattern matching thing, it creates a massive loophole in our thinking. We're hardwired to value dominance more than actual competence. Think about it. The person who talks first, who's the loudest, who acts super confident, they often get treated as the leader even if their ideas are terrible. Our brain just sees the signal of confidence and assumes it means competence. So that's what's happening inside our individual heads. But what happens when you put a bunch of us together in a group? Well, these drivers scale up. We all have this deep, ancient need to stick with the herd, right? If everyone starts running, you run. You don't hang around to see if it was a lion or just the wind. And in today's world, that instinct is weaponized all the time.
This creates this bizarre, dangerous situation called pluralistic ignorance. Picture this. You're in a boardroom. The boss pitches a truly awful idea. You hate it, but you glance around the room and everyone else is just nodding. So what do? You stay quiet, you nod along. But here's the terrifying part. Every single person in that room is thinking the exact same thing.
And that's how terrible ideas don't just survive, they go viral. It's called an information cascade. The first person makes a choice, the second person sees them and follows. The third person sees the first two and thinks, well, they must know something, so they follow too. By the time you get to the 10th person in line, they aren't even thinking about the original information anymore. They're just copying the crowd. And the whole thing could be based on one person's initial mistake.
Okay, so we've mapped out the hidden rules and the group psychology. Now for the good part. How do you use this? Let's talk about power and influence. Power isn't something you're just handed. It's about understanding and controlling the signals. Here's how you can start to take charge of the game.
This one is absolutely fundamental, whether you're negotiating a salary or just deciding where to eat dinner. It's called the principle of least interest. And it's simple. Whoever cares the least has the most power. If you are always genuinely willing to walk away from the table, you control everything.
Here's a pro tip. Most people are terrified of silence. It makes them anxious. So if you can get comfortable with it, you can use it as a weapon. Ask a tough question. If they give you a weak answer, just wait. Don't say a word. I guarantee you they will start talking again just to fill that awkward void. And they'll often spill information or even start negotiating against themselves.
All right, now we need to talk about defense. We need to learn how to spot the common manipulation games people play. Sometimes they do it on purpose, sometimes it's subconscious. But either way, once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it, and that's the first step to taking its power away.
So, a classic one you see, especially with narcissists, is the love bombing cycle. It's an addiction loop. First, they shower you with insane amounts of praise and affection. It feels amazing. like a drug. But once you're hooked on that feeling, they suddenly pull it all away. Your brain literally crashes, jonesing for that dopamine hit, and you'll do almost anything to get it back. And just like that, they're in total control.
Okay, ever confront someone you know is guilty and suddenly you're the bad guy? You've probably experienced Darvo. It's a textbook move. First, they deny everything. Then, they attack you, your memory, your motives, your sanity. And finally, the masterstroke, they reverse victim and offender, acting like they're the one being attacked. It's pure misdirection, designed to get you so busy defending yourself that you forget what they did in the first place.
So, confronted with all these games and manipulation tactics, how do you actually protect yourself? Look, you can't change other people, but you can absolutely change your strategy. Let's get into 2 incredibly powerful ways to guard your energy and your peace of mind.
Okay, what if you're stuck with a toxic person? A boss? A family member you can't avoid? You use the gray rock method. You become the most boring person in the world. Toxic people are like emotional vampires. They feed on drama and reactions. So you give them nothing. Short, boring answers. No emotion, no personal stories. You become as interesting as a plain gray rock. And eventually they'll get bored and go find someone else to feed on.
Listen, this is so important. So many of us get stuck in a loop, trying to get closure from the person who hurt us. We want them to apologize, to finally get it, but you have to understand, they won't. They can't. If they were capable of that, they wouldn't have hurt you to begin with. The disrespect was the closure. That's your answer. That's your signal to walk away and never look back.
This all leads to a really critical idea. For years, we've been told the goal is to be nice. But what is nice, really? A lot of the time, it's just being agreeable to avoid conflict. It's weakness. Nice people get run over because they send a signal that says, my boundaries don't matter. The real goal isn't to be nice, it's to be good. And being good requires strength.
And this is the heart of it. A person who can't hurt anyone isn't good. They're just harmless. A rabbit isn't virtuous for not eating a wolf, right? But a person who has strength, who has the capacity for danger, but chooses not to use it, that person is truly good. It's about having teeth, but choosing to smile. People don't respect harmlessness. They respect strength that's kept under control.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. Are you choosing to be harmless, or are you choosing to be good? Because real virtue, real respect, doesn't come from being unable to cause harm. It comes from having that capacity and consciously choosing to use it to protect yourself, your boundaries, and the people you care about. So, which one are you building?